Hi and welcome to College Academy's second Women in Tech event. My name is Jennifer and I'm a digital marketing manager at CLA. In this series, we are giving 4 women a platform to talk about their experiences and their projects. And hopefully with these events, we can contribute to one or the other taking the plunge and seizing her dream job. And our today's guest is Maryia, and she's going to tell us about herself and her path in the tech industry. But before we can start with the presentation, I have 2 more organizational points. The first thing is, if you have any questions, please just post them in the chat. We will answer them at the end of the presentation. And the other thing is, I'd like you to know that we are recording the session so we can post it on our YouTube channel later. Now, I don't want to say more, actually, because after all, this event is about Maryia and the story she has to tell. Hello, Maryia.
Hi everyone. Yeah. So my name is Maryia Ivanina, and today I would like to talk about my career path as a woman in tech and what it's like for me. So actually, like a brief introduction, which I will cover like more deeply. But okay, so I have bachelor master degree in computer science. I worked as a full stack engineer at a transition company, then as a senior data scientist at EPAM Systems, and just this year in June, I joined Google as a software engineer in YouTube analytics. And now, a bit more to the details. So let's start with education and even with choosing the profession. I was born and raised in not so big city in Belarus. I liked maths, foreign languages and other disciplines, and really didn't know what to pursue in my career. I thought at first about like economics or international relations. I saw more models going from there, but then I read that it's not like a great demand there, but the IT sphere, which is developing, and it requires more specialists. And while reading about it, I thought that it could be interesting path to pursue. But unfortunately, I didn't have so many examples of those specialists, and nobody from my relatives, neighbors, friends have thought about it. But fortunately, just before the final grade of my school years, I was able to participate in ESCA camp for the bridge of the English language and culture, which united children from different cities and countries, not only from my country, but also neighboring countries as well. And our teachers were students, young professionals from different countries who volunteered to teach us the English language there. And from this camp, I really learned that there are a lot of ambitious people, and they all could be from different gender, from different backgrounds, and like IT sphere can have open doors for everyone, and you just need to have the passion to do everything you want. And this talking with them inspired me that I can do it, and it's not only programmers who are like hackers in the movies. And that's why it's really fun to have this opportunity. And that's why the first tip is that you need to talk with professionals from the field you'd like to enter. It will help you to get rid of some doubts and to believe in yourself as well. And especially use all learning opportunities. It's like camps, courses, and whatever. It will help you a lot. Then I decided to enter the university. So it was Belarusian State University to study computer science. At first, it was really hard for me because I had some programming lessons at school, but were not at a profound level. I enjoyed doing them, but some people were like more advanced at that. But nonetheless, once you work hard, you can learn anything. And that's why I was able to graduate from the university, got a diploma with honors, so nothing is impossible. And I did love the whole this process, and I met a lot of interesting people who now work in different companies, which I could get referrals or like talk about, oh, okay, so what your company is working about. So making connections is really important. And here as well, I was able to participate in international exchange student program while I was at my master degree studies, and I spent one semester at Zurich University. So it was really also a turning point in my career because at my master degree studies, I learned machine learning basics. I worked with big data systems, and while at Zurich University, I also understood that potentially I'm more interested in some research and development profession as well. And after returning from this program, I changed my career path. And that's why all these things connected with education are really important, and you need to use the university time with full power. And if you'd like, you can go to the master degrees to proceed with the studies. If you study hard, you connect with people, it's like a lot of improvements to your career. And a good point of participating in international exchange programs so that you could gain more connections throughout the world, and to compare, for example, educational systems, and to help you a lot to reconsider the whole your career path. And from first job, I started it just on my second year of university, and it's quite common practice in our country to start early, because it's a good opportunity to have this hands-on real experience of work, to gain some knowledge not only in theoretical university study labs, but with support of senior colleagues, and develop some knowledge of how to deal with production issues. And that's why it was really happy to work with 3 years as a full-stack .NET engineer. So it was pure software engineering with backend, front-end development. And this company is an outsourced company, so it has a variety of projects. I was able to participate even different project setups where you work in a project in a pure outsource project, where the customers who are deciding what to do or what features to take. And also once I was working at this project for a couple of years, I asked to join another project to proceed with some other technologies, and they suggested to choose project which is in an external team for a product company. And that's why it was really a good way to even compare what it's like to work in a SaaS outsourced company, what about product companies. And here I gained some interesting insights, which I will share a bit later. But overall, like tip with first jobs, sometimes it's not always the company which you would like to work forever. So it could be potentially even like taking internship, where you can try different companies for a couple of months. So, but the main thing is getting hands-on experience to learn from your colleagues, to see what technology you have passion for. And that's why it's really important to start maybe early if it's possible, because in our country we were able to do this like 4 hours till 6 hours per day. Sometimes it's not able, but like taking internship is a good way to understand what you will be working at after finishing your studies. And the tip with exploring new projects, because you need to be open to new experience and try as much as possible to gain this knowledge. And about comparing outsourcing product companies, so actually it's more like observations, and it depends on the sizes of companies, the company's cultures as well, but just on average what I saw during my project. So here I would say that outsourced companies, they have a big variety of projects and domains. So it's easier to learn more technologies, have bigger outlook in solutions, and have like this deep knowledge. Whereas sometimes you can more deeply understand something in product companies when they have specific areas. But again, it just depends on the science and products itself, and the variety of domains and technology could be quite different in many areas. And that's why if a small company, you will have maybe a one domain to work with, and in like Google size, it will be a lot of directions to work with. Outsourced companies sometimes lack this information about the business itself for the project, because it's a project which is handled for customers, and customers sometimes could not hide, but just not show the whole information about you, what you are working with. Whereas when you focus on the product, it's maybe it's part of the culture to see the whole process, to have a bigger picture of where we are aiming at and what is like business itself look like, and this helps to understand it better. And again, with like clients part, companies have the projects are owned by clients who are paying for features, for some functionality that you are going to build, and that's why it's the one who have his final words in everything. And in product companies, potentially you could have create a sense of ownership and can spend time for developing something like product better, but nonetheless you still need to persuade, for example, senior management to proceed with your approach. And here as well, but if you convince, you can show some interesting parts of the product which you could enhance. And with like time-specific notions that potentially there could be short-term and long-term projects, and that's why it's if it's short-term, you need to make a good enough product and move forward, because just the budget is done for this specific timeline. But with like product companies, there could be like slower development, more consideration of architecture, and that's why this like bureaucracy could be handled, and here you won't be able to do something, deliver something quite quickly, and could be annoying, but nonetheless it will help you to make the product better. And here is my observations which I had. But nonetheless, it was more about this like, software engineering part. And after my getting master's degree, I decided to switch to the research and development, and that's why I chose data science field. And at first, I even got just junior level position at EPAM Systems, because even though I had experience of a software engineer, it wasn't relevant for data science because I didn't know whether I will perform like this. But all this experience from the previous job actually helped me to proceed and wrap up quite quickly there. And that's why I was growing quite fast and quite quickly get my promotion to even senior data scientist and working with leading some projects. And there is some most rising questions what data science is. And I like describing it more like a mixture of three main areas. It's about math and statistics, which helps to understand what is algorithm working, what evidence is right or wrong, whether we made right conclusions. Then about computer science area, which is about coding the experiments properly, make production-ready code, and overall, like we spent a lot of time for creating this infrastructure to gain experimentation was better. And then, last but not least, this domains business knowledge, which helps to just dive into the business itself, so that you could give insights which will be helpful to your customers. In some specific like software engineering projects, our business knowledge is mostly for like product owners or even customer itself who can say, okay, step 1, 2, 3, 4, which should be done, and you are going to just perform this nice view of the vision. But here with research, customers don't know either what's going on, and that's why you need to really dive into this business to understand, again, and be helpful for them. And that's why on this mixture and the intersection, there is data science, which is working with data, with finding insights and trends, with modeling processes and potential applications we could find quite easily in every field. So it's like predicting the weather or predicting customer churn, or if we're talking about text data, it could be predicting negative or positive comment, or whether it's like about some topic of text, finding text and keywords, or computer vision task like face detection or masks in Snapchat. So there are plenty of them, and they all have under this data science umbrella with many applications. And like this quite broad area, but the projects mostly follow the same phases, and there is like framework CRISP-DM, which is cross-industry standard process for data mining, which shows how like the project's life cycle is. And I think it would be interesting to cover this. So the first thing which we start with business understanding. So we ask our customers what we are aiming at, why this like the task is important, how we do solve it now by manually or some physical approaches, what business metrics we are improving by these solving problems, and asking a lot of questions to business to understand what they want from its solution. And then, because we are working with data, we need to actually understand what data is before us, and it can be this like back and forth going from business understanding and data understanding, because you need to look at the data, gain some insights, check that this is the data which is relevant for the task where you want to solve. Sometimes where potentially there is no data, and you need to come up with ideas how to like start gathering this data, or if we understand that the data is actually not telling us what the business want to understand from it. And that's why this like process where we work closely together with the customers. Then once at least we have data which we need, we can start with data cleaning preparations for working with algorithms. And once we have this prepared data, we start with feature engineering, then we can experiment with modeling. And here again, this two-way approach where we experiment and reiterate with some additional features gathered, like data prearranged or enhanced, and going on and on while we not getting to some level of our metrics. And with this evaluation process, so while with modeling, we again see these metrics and how our models are performing. But this evaluation is more about the data, how we perform on unseen data. And that's why on this modeling part, we divide our data into three parts, where it's training, which you can understand that it's for training purposes. Validational is more for like parameter tuning, and then unseen data, test data, which is set aside and for final decision making, whether really we solve the problem, even solve the problem enough for proceeding or not. And if yes, so the metrics could be not perfect, but just to the stated metrics level which we had. So we can try to deploy to see how it works in A/B testing and canary deployment, and to see the user feedback. But if not, then potentially we will need to reiterate and see what we are missing and reiterate all this process. Sometimes when people just start like the science field from Kaggle or other platforms, they just use data which they given, and it's always like cleaned, prepared, and you mostly focus on modeling. But in the real life setting, where's the statistics that the scientists and machine learning engineers they spend 65% of their time on working with data, with cleaning, with understanding how to solve the problem, and only like 25% for modeling and evaluation part, and 10% for deployment. So actually, it's roughly this phase and the percentage of work spent for some tasks. And I think it's really interesting, and we do see that we see here is also research and development stuff. And one of the main tips is that for your passion and choosing a work in every domain, don't be afraid to start your career. Again, even from the lower level, it doesn't matter if you like something, you will proceed and will gain anything, promotions or whatever. Just find what you like. And here I would like to show you about some of the projects which I participated. It was connected with Cornell University, who started the initiative to end hunger and poverty for African countries by finding interventions, where interventions is a method which could be helpful in some domains. For example, it could be new fortified crops, livestock intensification, irrigation, and whatever. And we want to find those interventions to suggest funds to invest money in improving some conditions and adding these interventions to the particular economic sphere. But what the problems like researchers had? So we started with manual processes, but the amount of articles were too big to handle, and there wasn't like a work interface for them to find articles, and they were nitty-gritty with some Excel files and whatever. And we also like to finding relevant articles where didn't know, or like we didn't have some interventions dictionaries where didn't know whether it will contain indicators or not, and that's why it was finding in high stack. And that's why we created machine learning driven system, which help with the process from data gathering to text normalization, deduplication. It also added some enrichment in the geolocation extraction, so that we could see about what countries this article is about plants and animals, which the source of research in the article. And we also created intervention taxonomy, so that it was easier to see for the researchers which articles was about, and we could see high-level statistics. This could be possible through the machine learning models. It involves different models from classical machine learning till some more advanced, like perceptive arts, and our findings were published even in the Nature Machine Intelligence journal. The whole things with these extractions and enhancements for the articles will all were put into the Kibana dashboard, so that researchers could filter by some dimensions, could see overall statistics, could move down to some articles and see from different perspectives onto the data, and faster find some interesting insights. And our results were that we gained quite good models accuracy, and also we helped the researchers to eliminate articles for screening processes, and roughly by 40%. So it was a really good result. And this project afterwards transformed into even Harvest.ai startup to help not only this initiative, but other non-governmental organizations to handle their data, to extract and use our models for the whole the world and making the world better. And there are some questions arising that, like, what's good to know to enter the science field. And as far as I said, with like 3 main areas. So I would say that like we need a good mathematical background, which could be gained via like university studies, or remember them if you already had, or ramp up by Coursera courses. There are plenty of them. It's also a good idea to spend more time for Python, so that you would have quite a good knowledge in it, because it's the most popular programming language for the science and machine learning. SQL as well is commonly used for like getting databases data, and also working with big data. And talking about big data is also important to potentially even don't have hands-on experience with that, but just like rough idea of what Spark, what MapReduce concepts are, and it would be useful. Some knowledge of like clinical software patterns, CI pipelines would be really a huge plus, because you will need to code many things. And as far as cloud providers are more and more popular, knowing at least one would be a great plus. And going about this business domain, it's hard to learn it without real experience, but nonetheless, I would advise you this book, The Science for Business. It's very helpful, and there are plenty in the internet, so you can search for them and gain with more intuition for how to proceed with the projects. You need also good communication skills to show your approaches, to convince to proceed with something, and show presentations. So having soft skills is quite preferable. And last but not least, classic machine learning and deep learning. I just showed one of the books which I liked, but it's not exhausted. I would say that you need more focus on fundamental knowledge, especially when you are just joining and entering, because it's always better than like having superficial knowledge of supermodel techniques. And here, I started a new page in my career as a software engineer at Google. I joined just last month. I started searching for a job in March, and wanted to share some like interview tips, which I found could be useful for you as well. So here it's about like be confident, you're professional. Sometimes it's really hard to understand that yes, you're going to this interview and you are not going to be judged. It's more like conversation with an interview, and being confident, we will sound more professional. That's why it's important. Practice interviewing with someone. It's really a great opportunity to have mock interviews, to see what mistakes you have, whether it's about your voice, whether it's about timings, whatever. But without having these mock interviews, you won't understand why you are getting rejected. Again, about confidence and like asking questions, it's more like about clarifying questions, not about permission, so that you just sound more professional in terms of your solving this problem, your suggestions as these solutions. That's why you need to clarify, not to ask permission to switch to an algorithm or an ask. And about well-structured answers, it's about understanding that some interviews, they potentially will be covered by some frameworks, and these answers, like for data science, could be CRISP-DM, which I already covered, or for behavioral, it should be like a situation, task, action, result, or other. And if you know this framework, it will be easier to align your answers. It will be easier to make notes for interviewers, and you will sound more professional. If possible, write down some key points of your answers, but if not, and keep track of time. And just because we are talking here about women in tech, I would briefly tell about some observations and statistics. So here I would say that I see that there are not so many women, but fortunately it's increasing, but still not at a good pace. I hope more and more women will join us. And even I had a picture of my science department, and if we calculate this percentage, really it works. So it's 25%, but in reality we're not all present, and it's about like 33%, but still not 50-50. So women, we need you. And about speakers at the conferences, I thought that the fewer percentage, but statistics says that we have roughly the same like overall workforce in IT. And so speak up and talk about your work. It's really very important. Unfortunately, 53% of female professionals experience imposter syndrome, and again, male professionals experience this too. But yeah, we need to work on our confidence. We're still not 50-50. That's why if we are going not to hide our achievements and hide our work, then fewer women will join. That's why we need any of you and speak up, talk about your work. Everything is really deserves listening. And there is an interesting statistics about living as a profession. I would say that I didn't notice it from my companies, but I hear stories about like having problems with having issues, family issues, with having the career path, quite rough, having family and private life, work-life balance. But nonetheless, I see that many companies promotes works on this retention, which we cover a bit later, and that's why I hope it will really be changed. But overall, why it's important to have women and men working together, and especially in IT, that really having diverse teams gains more money for companies, and it's worth it. That's why we need you. And what's about like support? I would say that there are two main directions. It's more about like promotion, so it's getting women in the IT, and it's starting from even school years, or some students, like when we start to promote and inspire other women to proceed with it. We show more of women role models and organize events for women. So some of them like Google School Jam and remarkable workshops at EPAM Systems, competitions like McKinsey, and I joined all of them, I guess. So it's really a good opportunity to know and connect with other women. And about retention, it's more about like staying in the fields, so it's not so many leaving after a while. And that's why it's important to give like challenging tasks and interesting projects, so that even after giving birth to a child, you will likely to go to your job again and to proceed with these interesting projects. It's important to have women clubs at work, so that we could talk together and have these common interests. I like that many companies support in parenting, in like paid leaves, back leaves. And also, it's important to have these trainings of unconscious bias. It's a part of the culture of many companies, and support in additional education, changes career paths. And always like support, it's not only about the companies itself, it's more about us as well. That's why speak up, show your personality, inspire other women and girls. It's really very important. And just to finalize, some of these topics are covered in books, podcasts, and here are 3 books which I liked. And one was the like quote, which also described my career path. It was from LinkedIn book by Sheryl Sandberg. Like, career is a liana, not a ladder. And that's why it says about you need to follow your passion, to do the tasks and projects which you like, and you don't need to just go for one step another on the ladder and just pursue the path you want. And my final words would be, believe in yourself, work hard, and you will achieve anything you desire. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for sharing your story and giving us an insight into your work, Maryia. And I think we could probably all benefit from your tips you gave us during your presentation. And yeah, we already have received some questions in the chat, so I would suggest just to start right away with them.
Yeah, sure.
Perfect. So the first one would be, how did you understand straight after your bachelor's what exact area of IT you want to grow in and take your master's in this area?
Okay, so it's quite the questions could be like details for the first. So what was the bachelor? Could you one more time?
One more time. Okay, so how did you understand straight after your bachelor what exact area of IT you want to grow in and take your master's degree in?
Okay, so like after my bachelor degree, it was like pure software engineering, computer science. While my thesis, I started looking into like machine learning stuff, but I didn't think that really I will be able to do it because we didn't have at a profound level such knowledge, and that's why once I decided that I would like to dive into this area of more research. That's why I decided to switch to this master degree. If I saw that many people just like stayed and the bachelor computer science degree was totally fine for them and proceeded with software engineering. But I understood that maybe it's an interesting area to gain knowledge in. And if I didn't proceed with master degree, maybe I won't switch to the research and development. That's why this education part was important to me. But again, like I saw even other people without master degree who pursued data science, and they even switched between some career paths during their work and after several years of education. So it depends, but this is what I was aiming.
Okay, so you don't have to be 100% sure right after your bachelor's. You afterwards. I guess that answered the question pretty well. So let's just move on to the next one. Is it smart for a master's graduate to go for internships?
I would say at first, like I didn't take internships while I was at university, and I did regret that. Even though I had this like almost full-time job, but taking this internship even for these 3 months, you can do it even if you have a still full-time job. You can like agree with your managers or whatever, but it will help you to understand, to touch some like companies cultures, to touch some technology. So maybe it's a good idea once you are studying. And I really like regretted that I didn't take some internship in big tech companies, and I worked more on like full-time job. But yeah, I think it's a good opportunity. Even you are bachelor, master, or even PhD student. I saw many examples of this.
Right, and then the next one would be, could you please explain work-life balance between the two companies? I guess it's about
outsource and product companies. Yeah, here could be a lot of things about this overall work-life balance, and I would say it really depends on the company itself. So sometimes I heard that like startups or like product companies, they have too many things to do. That's why a lot of people like have so many work hours working at the weekends. But the same could happen even at source companies if they have not so managed to expectations for clients, and we're trying to deliver something in time within this short-term period. When the company is quite small, it's more of like work-life balance sometimes, because we need to do a lot of things and we hands-on on every part, and there are potentially more fires in the work than in a big company, for example, big tech company, they more support on this work-life balance. They don't like this like unplanned work, and they promote having more family time with spending the evenings, and they don't want you to like answer emails in the weekends. But it depends, and even doesn't like I wouldn't say it depends on the outsource or product company, but the company itself.
Mm-hmm. Thank you to this. I think it's always a good idea just to talk to your boss or to your HR team, probably. Yeah. So the next question would be, by modeling in data science, do you mean DB design?
What do you DB design, database design, or could you please repeat?
Yes, it was by modeling in data science, you mean DB design?
Okay. No. By modeling in data science, we mean like creating algorithms which are going to be learned on the data. So it's more of finding mathematical solution to the problem, so that we could see our like parameters for the model, and then it's going from the training for the data, and via this training, these parameters are found via optimization methods, and all this modeling is about finding this like mathematical representation of something. It could be either like classical machine learning model, or it could be a neural network, or any other like algorithm, which it can be either not parametric, but yeah, mostly it's mathematical form of something.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Thank you. And now we kind of go on to the next topic, more or less. The next questions would be, how did you prepare for interviews, and did you have to provide examples of projects?
Okay, so for interviews, it really depended on the companies which I was applying to. For example, for like big tech companies, I didn't need to talk more about like projects itself. So roughly idea for example, for HRs or during some interviews which specific to project areas, but for others which asks about like algorithm part, they didn't want to even hear about some of my previous experience. They wanted my overall understanding. But once I was interviewing for startups, for smaller companies, they were more interested in projects. They really wanted to hear what I did, what models, what why I didn't do and didn't do this, why I didn't try. And this was more about this my prior experience, what I was hands-on, and also asking about everything. So it really depends, and that's why I was preparing for different styles of interviews during this period. And it's really a good opportunity to like research a bit about the company itself. Maybe there is some tips from other interviewees who also like past these interviews, what expected and what to be prepared for.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and now I think, oh no, it's not the last one, I'm sorry. The next one would be, can you provide more examples of frameworks for answering interview questions?
Okay, so here I noted about like machine learning specifics for CRISP-DM. It's more about like machine learning overall design. STAR and SCORE, they are more about like behavioral frameworks. Others which didn't come up in my mind, but it's really easy Googleable, because some even companies, they promote their own frameworks, how they would like you to answer the questions. Especially, I saw many frameworks for behavioral questions, because it's really the questions which you show your past experience, and you have your stories. But again, it's not so convenient for interviewers to make notes on your answers. And once you have some framework to align which what to say, how to make it more concise, then you need to check up maybe there is some potentially framework which this company uses, and this will be helpful.
Mm-hmm. And now we have I think it's about a previous question. The person asked in that case, would you recommend for applying to big companies? I think, I right now don't know what the question was before, but what would be your suggestion?
Like big tech company, if you mean like funk companies, it's more of like having this good experience with algorithm, with coding, with programming, and having overall fundamental knowledge. And while with coding part, it's mostly about like solving problems with LeetCode or other platforms, so that you could hands-on with fundamental knowledge of algorithms, so that you could speak, and you need to do it quite quickly because the time frame of the interviews are quite small, and that's why this is more or less the things which you need to prepare for. And each big tech company will have like behavioral questions, so you will need to think of all the stories from your prior experience which could be helpful, like what's the biggest challenge did you have? Did you manage some conflicts with other people, or did you manage teams, and something like this? And that's why you will need to prepare a list of stories which could come up while in the interview.
Okay, and now let's move on to the last question. Do you think can a student work in a big company?
I would say, like in a big company, it's a broad definition, but I would say a student could work in any company which will help him to grow. And if you have like senior colleagues, if you have someone to have experience from, then you could proceed in any sort of company. And I would say the bigger companies, they, as far as they have like more professionals, will have more things that were already like the processes are stated. Then the onboarding process for students will be much easier, and the process of like teaching all the initial work streams, so and the work which should be done, it would be easier. That's why starting for students in bigger companies and like versus small companies is much more preferable, I think. And so, and mainly big companies, they have these internship programs. They have courses where we start just like teaching some students, and then they take them, like the students with highest degrees or with highest marks of the courses to work. And that's why it's really a good opportunity to start a career there.
Yeah, I think it might be a good idea just to check out the company's websites, and they very often have like student worker positions online. So maybe that's another tip.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you for saying it.
Yeah, of course. So that would be it already. And I want to thank you once again for your time and for the insight in your position and your path. And of course, I wish you all the best for your new position.